for the any vector quantity is have the magnitude and direction, right? So we need to show for magnitude and direction. Is that right? And what about for unit of force? How to measure force? So force is measured in the unit of the Newton. We use with the notation and it's so for Newton unit. Is that true? So at least you need to know that force with the vector quantity is need to show for magnitude and direction, and in the unit of force we use Newton, right? Okay, the next part we consider 3 Newton law. Newton law. So what about the first Newton law? Could you state for the first Newton law? How about the content of the first Newton law?
First Newton law states that if there is no net force on the body remains at rest. If it is initially pressed or moves in a straight line at a constant speed, if it is in motion.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So, hey guys, do you agree with the definition he said? Is that true? We consider the first Newton law. If we skip eternal forces, right? We consider the motion of the objects with the without eternal forces. If that means the objects, if they continue to remain stationary or is move with the constant velocity. Is that true? For the first Newton law? Hey guys, could you hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes, so the first Newton law, we consider objects move without external forces, right? External forces. If the objects move without external forces, there are two cases occur here. If it's stationary, that means it continues to remain stationary with the velocity b0, right? Another case, if the object move is continue to move with the velocity b constant. Is that true? Is that wrong for the first Newton law? Okay, so how about the second Newton law? Who knows, please? Who could state for second Newton law?
The Newton's second law states that the net force on a body with mass is related to the body's acceleration by the formula F net is equal to mass multiplied with accelerations, and you have to write out it in the vectors equation.
Is that all? Is that all?
Yes.
Yes, so I agree with you. So the content of second Newton law is so the force related to the mass of the object with the acceleration, right? If we show for a relationship here, we have the force. The force acts on the object. It related to mass of the object multiplied with the acceleration. right? If we use notation F, capital letter F, the vector F for the force and mass, we show with the notation M and acceleration already known with the A like this. So we have the formula to show for second Newton law by this. F equal to M multiplied with the A, right? And how about in units? For the units, don't forget we consider the force in unit of Newton, right? And for the mass, it's the normal unit of the kilogram multiplied with the unit of the acceleration. We have the ms minus square. Is that true? The unit of the force related to the mass and acceleration. And the last one here, we talk about the third Newton law. What about the last one? The last one to state for third Newton law. Who can please? Who could state for the third Newton law? To understand about the content of third Newton law, so please take a look at the figure here. The figure here, I consider a bone and a leg like this. So in this case, we consider two objects like A and B. So let's see the force act on A and force act on B. So let's compare. We have the figure here with the two objects, A and B. Focus two objects here. And the second object, A. So how about the force act on B? Force act on B is come from their object A, right? So it's come from their object A, so we use F or A. If that means the force of A now is act on B object. Is that okay? So we have the FAB. If that means the force of A acts on B, it put on object B. Very similar, we could show for the force from B acts on A. So force from B, we use notation at B, and then acts on the object A. It's like this. So let's compare two forces here. It's the opposite direction, right? And in this case, so for the content of the third Newton law. The third Newton law is that mean every action have an equal and opposite reaction. Is that true? The first acts on B, is that mean the B acts on A? Do you agree? Hey guys, do you understand the last one?
Yes.
The third Newton law. Do you agree? Is that okay? So back to the slide here, we show for the third Newton law, we have the formula to connect. If we consider two objects, A and B in similar figure like this, we have two objects, A and B. So the force of A acts on B is put at B, like this, with the name F A, B. Is that true? The force of A acts on B. Very similar, we have the reaction from B to A. Put on the opposite A with the name of force here, we have the F, B, A. If that means the force of B acts on A. Is that okay? We have the formula to connect F, A, B is opposite. If that means minus F, B, A. So is that all for Newton law? Okay, let's see the next. We consider some kind of the forces. How many kind of forces do you have already known? To do exercise, we need to show for the list of forces. Do you know that? How many kind of forces? Only for the first one, we talk about the weight, right? For the weight, you could use the P or W is shown for the name of weight. So P or W is equal to mg, right? So for the magnitude is equal to mg. With the g is the free fall acceleration. The value is approximately 9.8 in the unit of the acceleration. Is that right? The second force here we could consider with the current normal force. So what about normal force? Normal force we use the name and normal force. For example, if we consider the opposites on the table like this. For example, I have the opposites here. So for the force, in this case, P, here is the weight of the opposites act on the table, right? In this case, the table acts on the opposites, right? So the force comes from the table acts on the opposites. We have the normal force. In this case, normal force is half the magnitude equal to weight, right? Or another case, if we consider the opposites on the class planes like this, we consider the opposites here. So where is weight? If we consider the plane direction is made with the angle theta with the horizontal. So in this case, where is weight? Hey guys, so where is weight? Who knows? Do you know that? Where is weight? For weight force is always flow the downwards, right? So we had weight here, right? Is that true? In your lecture, so teacher told you that the weight is below the downward, right? In this case, where is the normal force? Normal force is the force of the plane act on the opposite, right? So in this case, we have the opposite here, plane here. So the force from the plane acts on to opposite, it must be here. we have the normal force here. Very different if we consider the objects stay on the table like this, or objects stay on the glide plane. Is that okay? Got it? Hi guys, do you got it?
Yes.
Okay, so next one, we have the tension force. So what is the tension force? Tension force, we use with the notation T. T is shown for the tension force. For example, if we consider the system like this, with the two objects M1 and M2 connect in this figure. So in this case, we have the P2 is shown for the weight of the object 2, and P1 is shown for the weight of object 1. Okay. Other forces here, we have the T2 is shown for the tension force of the cars on the right hand side, and we have the T1 is shown for the tension force of the cars on the left hand side. Is that true? So tension force here, for example. And the last forces we need to mention here, friction force, B friction force. Friction force in the first part, chapter 2, we don't mention. We skip friction force for all of list exercise today. So friction force we will talk for the next part 2. Is that okay? So today we skip that. Hi guys, do you understand? Do you have any question for a list here? We consider three main things. The first one, we talk about the definition of force. The second one, we remind you Newton law with the first, second, and third law. And the last, we list all the forces in the lecture. At least you need to consider some kind of forces here to do exercise. Is that all? Do you have any question? Any question, please? Yes or no?
Yeah. No.
No. Okay, so my question, if you have no question, so I have question for you. Now let's think about the way you need to consider when you do exercise in chapter 2, part 1. Let's think about the way, the normal way, general way you need to do for exercises in the part 1, chapter 2. Because here we consider the motion of the object, right? It may be larger forces act on the object. So think about the way we need to show for any exercise. To conclude, I would like to show you the general method to exercise. Let's talk about general method. Okay, for general methods, we follow 3 steps. So let's see step number 1. Step number 1, when we consider the objects, we need to describe or express all forces as on the objects. Do you understand? So first step, we need to express all forces as on the opposite. That's a step number 1. So how about step number 2? Step number 2, we need to choose the direction of the motion. It's maybe move up or move down, go to the left side or back to the right side, for example. So at least we need to show where is the positive direction. If that means step number 2, we need to choosing the direction of motion. So what about the last one, step number 3? Could you suggest? What about step number 3, the last one? Step number 3, so after we finish step number 1 and 2, now we think about Mutant Law. So we apply the first one or second one or third one to do exercise. So step number 3, apply the Mutant Law. So at least we had 3 steps to do exercise. Let's think about 3 steps. So with 1, we need to show all forces act on the opposite. The second one, we need to know where is the positive direction, right? And the step number 3 or the last one, think about the Newton law we need to apply to show for the question. Is that okay? So is that all for the part 1, chapter 2? Now let's start with the first exercise today. I think exercise 13 for the first one. Let's see exercise 13 for the first one is here. So first exercise, please take time to read the content of exercise 13. Các bạn ơi, các bạn có hiểu bài không? Alo. Alo, alo.
Vẫn nghe được cô.
Các bạn im lặng quá nên cô không biết các bạn có hiểu bài không? Cô có một cái rule duy nhất trong lớp học là cô sẽ không đọc chat box. Nên cô hy vọng là nếu các bạn có câu hỏi hay có ý kiến gì thì các bạn hãy nói với cô nhé. Các bạn có thể stop cô lại rồi hỏi rồi thảo luận. Còn trong quá trình cô dạy, bởi vì cô tập trung vào lecture mà, cô thường không đọc cái chat box của các bạn đâu. Nên các bạn có ý kiến gì thì các bạn có thể trao đổi trực tiếp với cô luôn nhé. Okay guys, so what about the exercise 13? Who could do this exercise, please? Or something wrong here in this figure we consider
I think
F1.
we should F1. Yes.
Yes, F1 is not F.
So can I do it?
What's your name, please?
Nguyễn Quang Vinh.
Vinh. Yes, of course. So let's start with the first question. So exercise 13 is quite long. We split to one, the first question and the second part for question number 2 and 3. Are you okay? So for you, let's start with the first question.
First, we have we need to find fnet.
Why we need to show fnet?
Because when we need to find the second force, so first we find the total force of F.
Wait, hang on. So this exercise, we consider the opposites like opposites here, right? So we know the mass of the opposites with the MB2 kilogram, right? In the overhead view, we have the F1 here below the horizontal axis, right? We already know the magnitude of the F1 be 20 Newton, right? Even here, we know that with the acceleration of the opposites, VA, with the magnitude here, we know the direction of the acceleration to the horizontal be 30 degrees, right? The first question required to show for second force, right? So Ving suggests to find the second force. Now we need to consider the total force. The total force is that mean F net, right?
Yes.
So Ving, where is the F net?
Fnet has the same direction with acceleration.
Why did you know?
Because it's in the total force will act to the object and make the object move to its direction.
In the short answer, because the second Newton law states that we have the F total is equal to m multiple with the acceleration, right? So let's see the relationship here. If that means F net it must be follow the direction of the total acceleration or acceleration. Is that true? So that's why we know in this case we have the F net or F total here. It's the same direction with the acceleration. Hey guys, do you agree? Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so at least we know that F is equal F1 plus with the F2. In this case, F1 here, F here. Now we need to show for F2, the second force, right? So what did you do next, Vinh?
I find the magnitude of Fnet.
Oh, yes, you find magnitude of the F net. So what about the F net?
Fnet equal to m multiple a vector a.
Vector quantity, right? We have the vector F is equal to mass multiple with the vector A, right?
Yes.
How about the magnitude?
So magnitude F equal to m multiple a.
Yes, and it's
Equal to 12 multiple with 2.
so we have the
24
24 Newton, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what is next?
Next, I find the Fy of F.
Fy of F, that means we have the F here. Now we consider two components of F on the horizontal and vertical axis, right? So here, if we with the Fy, is the component of F on the horizontal, vertical, and Fs is the component of F on the horizontal axis. Is that okay? So what about for Fy?
Fy equal to F multiple with cos 30 degree.
Cos theta. So now we replace with the F is the magnitude 24 multiple with the cos 30 degree. So how about the final value here?
It's equal 12 multiple with square root of 3.
12 square root of 3.
Yes.
Is that okay? So here is so for the magnitudes. So what about for the vector? If we want to show for the vector. So
Vector
what about for the vector?
Minus 12 square root 3.
Is minus 12 square root 3. Is that all?
I think so.
No. Let's see here. You have the number. Is that number scalar, right? But this case is a vector. Vector be scalar, so impossible, right? So something wrong here. We ensure that, right? On the right hand side, be scalar, but in the left hand side, we show for the vector. Is that means something wrong here? Vinh, do you agree?
Yes.
Be careful for physics. You need to show for scalar or vector. The meaning of vector is very different with the meaning of scalar, right? So who could help him, please? Who could correct here? How to show for the vector Fy? Who know, please? Fy is below the vertical, right? So it's equal to the magnitude multiple with the unit vector. So what about unit vector of the vertical? We use I and G. It's so for the vector unit of the horizontal and vertical axis, right? Don't forget in the system of Aqua, we use two unit vector I and Z, right? I is the unit vector of the OX and Z is the vector of the OY. So to show for the vector on the OY, we take magnitude multiple with the vector unit Z. Do you agree? Is that
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
So why we have the negative here? Negative here because in this case, if we choose positive direction upward, if that means the component of F is below the negative direction. So that's why we have the negative here. Vinh, is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so now what about
Phi Fx equal to F multiplied sin theta.
now it is super easy with the 24 multiple with the sin 30 degree. So how about this? We have the 12.
12 Newton.
Yeah, don't forget we use the Newton for unit of force, right? So now could you show for the vector Fs?
Fx equal to minus 12 I.
12 I. Is that true? So vector equal to vector is correct. So now we could show for the total F is equal to component here Fs and Fy, right? For the fx and fy, we already know here with the negative term multiple with the I minus 4 tau square root 3g.
Right.
Is that all? Is the full form of the F or total F, right? Don't forget, we need to show for second frost and for the first one. What about the first one? The
F1
first
equal to
the magnitude here with the 20
20.
and is they on the
Positive direction.
yes, and it's marked.
So the I vector.
Don't forget, yes, we need to check with the vector unit art. It's shown for the vector F1. So now to compute for F2, we take F minus 4F1,
F1.
right? For the F, we have the negative tau
No.
I. Yes, now it's quite easy to show for the second frost.
Equal to minus 32i.
Okay, with the 32 hours minus frost.
Root 3. Sorry.
Hey guys, let's check for the answer of the second frost. Is that true? Second frost, we have the unit vector. Yes, is that right? So vector equal vector here.
Yeah, it's right.
Oh, it's right. Okay, Vin, thank you. You finished for the first question. So now move to the question number 2 and 3. Who could do two next question number 2 and number 3? Question number 2 required to show for the magnitude of the second frost. We already know the formula in the unit vector of the second frost. Now we apply formula to show for magnitude. Is that all for question 2, right? So who want to try question number 2, please?
I think the question number 2, we first calculate the
Okay, the guy you want to do question number 2. What about the magnitude
of the second frost.
F2 with the absolute, the F2 is
To square root of 32
formula we apply with the F2 as component of F2 on the axis, right? Square plus with the F2 y. If that means the component of the F2 on the
OY.
right? Yes. Now we replace with the F2 here and F2 here, right? So we replace by the number with the negative 32
square plus 12 square root of 3 square.
Yes. So how about our final answer question?
And equal to 38.16
Oh, 38.16 Newton. Okay. It's quite simple for question 2. So how about question 3? Could you show for question 3? What's your name, guys? Your name, please.
My name is Bảo.
Bảo. Bảo.
Yeah.
Could you do the question number 3?
I'm not yet. I haven't done it.
You not done. So hey guys, who could do the question number 3? The question number 3 to ask us how to show for the positive direction, right? Now we need to show for the position of the F2. So where is the F2? Could you guess? Where is F2? Bảo. So look at the figure here. Could you guess the position, the F2? The first quadrant, the second quadrant, the third and fourth quadrant of the system here. Could you guess where to show for F2?
I think it's the third one.
The third, why you think the position of the F2 must be here? The third quadrant. Why it must stay here? Let's see the component, the F2x and F2y, because it takes both of them here be negative, right? So both value for the two component negative, so that's why we know that the F2 must belong to the quadrant number 3. Hey guys, do you understand here? So now we could show for the F2 like this. F2, for example, here. We have the F2 here. If we consider the F2 stay here, does that mean we have the F2x on the OX with the negative direction and F2y is also negative direction. So that's why we have the 2 negative here. Is that okay? So now we need to show for the angle relative. So if we assume the angle relative here with the notation phi, phi is so for the angle that the F2 make with the horizontal OS, right? So now could you show for the value of phi?
We calculate the time.
Is that right? We apply for the formula time phi. It relates to the component of
the f y 2y over f 2x.
Yes, is that true? So what about it? You have
the 12 over 32.
Yes, it's equal square root of 3.
32, not
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So how about the value to show for the angle phi?
3 multiplied with square root of 3 over 8.
Okay, so could you show me the final answer for the value of phi?
Is equal to 33
33 approximate degree, right? 33 degree for the phi. So now let's see the question here. The question here requires to show the angle relative to the positive direction. Here is phi is the angle between the actual with the negative, right? Negative axis. But the question requires to show the angle relative with the positive here. So what's the final answer? If the 33 is correct or not?
The 33 is not correct. The correct answer is
Right?
the angle is
Angle relative to
positive.
the positive direction of us. So it must be 30 degree. Plot with the 180 degree, right? And final we got with the 213 degree. That's final answer. So be careful here with the question when we consider the angle relative with the positive or negative direction of the axis, right? In this case, we need to show for the very large angle here. Consider with the positive. In this case, we have the value 213 degree follow the anti-clockwise, right? So this angle is follow the anti-clockwise. So is that all for the first exercise?
Excuse me.
Teacher,
why do we have
ask?
to go anti-clockwise?
Okay, guys, let's see if we consider cloud. You have cloud like this. Okay, if it's move follow this direction, we have the clockwise like this, right? So anti-clockwise is follow opposite. Oh yeah, so in this case it's follow. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
It must be minus 33. Yeah.
Something wrong here.
Yeah, it should be 180
it should be
33.
It should be minus, not plus.
Minus, let's see, in this case, if I want to show 213 degree, that means it's follow the clockwise, right? Clockwise or anti-clockwise?
Yes, it's follow the clockwise. Yeah.
Another way you could consider the angle here. Right?
Yes, so both angle will be okay. Or
angle, right? No, in this case, I think it's below the anti-clockwise because you have the positive here, right? Now to show the connect to the F2 here, that means you need to start here and move to the F2 here. So that's why I told you that it's below the anti-clockwise, clockwise like this. In this case, we consider the angle start with the positive here and is to the F2 here. That means follow the anti-clockwise, right? If we consider another way from here, is follow the this way. That means we have another way follow the another angle follow the clockwise. Is that okay?
Yes.
You understand the rule. The rule is start with the positive. You start with the positive part here, and you move to the vector, right? So we have the proceed here. We move to the add to here. It follow the anti-clockwise. Be careful here.
Okay.
Got it? Hey guys. Okay, so we finished the first exercise 13. So the first question, who finished? Vinh, right? Vinh finished the first question. I give you 1 star. Nguyễn Quang Vinh, is that true?
Yes.
1 star for you. And the second guy who finished the question number 2 and 3, Bảo. Nguyễn Quốc Bảo, I give you 1 star. Thank you. Now let's see the next exercise. The next exercise, please focus on exercise 14. Exercise 14 for the next one. One minute for all to read the content of exercise 14. So what do you think about exercise 14? Who could do exercise 14, please? In this exercise, we consider the blocks on the climb plane, right? So climb plane is made with the angle theta to the horizontal axis, right? Don't forget, in this exercise, in this situation, we consider plane without friction, right? If that means we have friction last here. there are no friction. It's quite simple if we don't consider friction. So the first question required to show for the tension of the cut. And the second question here, we need to show for the normal force as on the block. And the last question, number 3, to ask us, so for the magnitude of the acceleration when the blocks move, if the cause is cut, right? Is that all for exercise 14? Don't forget to show for exercise, we have general method. Think about 3 steps. Step number 1, we need to show all forces act on the object, right? And the second step, we need to show where is positive direction, right? And the last step, or step number 3, we think about the week 1 of the Newton law, the first, the second, or the third Newton law to apply to do questions, right? Is that all? So now who want to try, who could do the exercise 14? Exercise 14, please.
Can I try?
Yeah, of course, your name, please.
Trần Đức Anh.
Đức Anh. Yes, Đức Anh.
Yes.
How did you do the first question?
In the first, I draw well,
Okay.
a frame like.
Think about the first step of the general method. We need to
Yes.
show for the all forces act on the object, right? So
Yeah.
how many forces in this exercise?
Well, the first is the P force. The weight is go down T.
Position,
Yes.
right? Yes. We have the weight.
The weight go downward.
Let's have mass, so we have always show for the weight. The weight
Yes.
is below the downwards, right? P, for example,
Yes.
and
Then
the
the
last
notion
force,
normal force.
the normal force with the N.
Yes.
Is that all? We had 3 forces act on the opposites in this exercise. Do you
Yes.
agree? So
Yes.
how about the second step?
We will divide the weight into the first is well,
The second step, don't forget the second step. We need to show where is positive.
the positive is well, I choose it the same with the T tension.
Yes, I agree with you. If we consider the Clyde plane in normal way, we often choose the system as OY like this. For OS is below the
Tension.
direction of the planes. And
Yes.
the second axis here, OY is perpendicular to the plane like this. That means it's perpendicular to the OS. Okay, we
Yes.
have the positive here and positive here.
Yeah.
Yes, so now to show for the tension force, you need to decide which one of the Newton law you apply for.
Excuse me, can you say it again?
Yes, so step number 3, we apply Newton law, right? So
Yes.
which one? The first one, the second one, or the first one of Newton law?
The second one, right?
Oh, second one, right. Okay, so now let's start with the question number 1. Question number 1, because we consider the axis like here. So 3 forces act on. What about this? Is equal to
0 MA.
MA. But in this case, because the opposite
I
are on the right, So that's why it's equal to 0,
0.
right?
Yes.
Now the first question required to show for the tension. How to show for the tension in the cord?
Well, the tension is the opposite of px.
To
Well,
show the tension, we consider all forces on the OS axis, right?
yes.
So it's the flow, the plane. So we consider the own axis here on OS. So what about the P on OS? P on right here with the
Yes.
P X,
X.
right?
Yeah.
So P X in this case it follow the negative direction, right? So
Yes.
it must be negative. How about for the magnitude of P on the OS?
About the magnitude is will equal to 85
PS
px.
plus with the T is equal 0,
0.
right? So
Yes.
finally we got with the tension T is equal
To px.
So what about the magnitude of PF?
It's will equal to 85
And
m
G multiple with the,
sin.
yes, sin theta, right? So
Yes.
we have the theta here, it's the same theta here, the angle here. So that's why we have the sin theta. So
Yes.
finally, what about the value of the tension?
42.5.
Multiple with the, we could take with the, do you want to use 9 press or 10 for free flow motion?
Yes.
So we want 10 or
I
9.8.
I think I will choose 10 to be
With the sin of
since
the,
30 degrees.
so how about the final value of T?
42.5.
Approximate 42 Newton, right?
Yes.
Please move to the second question. What about the second question?
Well, about the second question, I will work on the OY direction.
We consider all forces on the OY. So on the OY, we have the normal force follow the positive, right?
Yes.
And we have the negative PY.
PY. Yes, it's 0 to.
On the I, we have the PY here, right?
Yes, and it equal to 0.
So that's why we could compute for the number force is equal to PY is equal to mg and cos, right?
Yes.
Now could you show for the number force with the s profile, with tan, with the cos 30 degree, with that all. So could you show the final answer?
It's an approximate
Maybe
73.6.
70. Okay, 73 is okay
Yes.
for non-frost. And how about the last question? The last question, now if we cut across, right?
Yes.
We cut across, that means the tension disappear, right?
Yes.
When we cut the cross, if that means we have tension force, right? So now what about the magnitude of the acceleration? How to show for acceleration?
It's equal to the it's the same direction with px.
We need to show again for F next. when we cut the cross.
Okay.
When we cut the cross, so how many forces act on the opposite?
2
Two. Okay, that's two.
is weight and the notion normal force.
And normal force, right? So when you cut the cross, if that means we have no T.
No T.
Right? The T we remove. If now we just had two forces P and N. So weight
Yes.
and forces, right? So we consider the motion of the object below the plane, right?
Yeah.
That means we consider F mass on the OS, right?
Yes.
So what about the F mass below the OS?
It's about the px.
We have the F mass
Yes.
is equal to the
px.
P S. So now if you cut the cross, does that mean the objects move to the bottom, right? Bottom direction.
Yes.
So what about the position of the Fs?
It will be negative.
Negative is right. That means you need to take with the negative, right? So
Yes.
what about the M net?
Is equal to m multiplied with acceleration.
Now we have the M A S, right?
Yes.
Equal with the M G
Since
theta, right? So from this, we could to show for the Fs. So what about the, sorry, As. So what about As? Acceleration of the objects move to the plane when we cut the curve, right? So it's equal negative G multiplied with the sin theta. So could you show for the value?
It's minus 5.
With the 30 degree is minus 5. How about the unit, the AS?
Meter per second square.
Yes, negative square, right? So why we have the negative here? Could you explain why it's negative here?
Because it's moved to the bottom when we choose the direction is upward, up to the top of the page.
So that's why we have negative value of the AS, right?
Yeah.
Hey guy, Ronnie Boy, do you understand him? He explains why we got with the negative value here. Because we cut the curve, the objects move to the bottom. Move to the bottom, if that means opposite direction with the positive here. So that's why in this case, we have the negative value. Is that all for exercise 14? Đức Anh, you finished exercise 14. Good job. I give you 1 star.
Yeah, thank you.
Đức Anh, Đỗ Đức Anh.
Trần Đức Anh.
Trần Đức Anh.
Trần Đức Anh, yeah, Trần Đức Anh, 1 star, yes. Guys, do you have any question for exercise 14?
No.
If you think about 3 steps when you do exercise, I think you could get more easier, right? The first step, don't forget to think about list of all forces act on the objects. And second step, don't forget to choose the positive direction. And the last step, step number 3, think about the week 1 of Newton law we need to apply to do exercise. Is that all? So let's see the next exercise 15, please. Exercise 15 for the next one. Okay, take time to do exercise 15. Now I check you on the list. Let's see, group L2.3. Are you here? Right. Now I call your name to time. If you are here, please say yes. Vương Đăng Thái. Vương Đăng Thái. He not here. Okay, the next guy. Nguyễn Phương Thảo.
Có. Alo có.
Yes. Thảo, could you help me to call the name of all guy here 2 times, please? Thảo.
Dạ, chỗ em hơi ổn đi, cô có thể nói lại được không ạ? Okay. Can you repeat?
Could you help me to call all list here for each one call 2 times?
Sorry. Chỗ em hơi ồn ạ. Em sợ là lúc em nói.
So thank you. Nguyễn Quỳnh Trang.
Yes.
Trang, could you help me to call the next name?
Okay. Nguyễn Quỳnh Trang.
Yes.
Trần Minh Trung.
Yes. Hello.
Đỗ Minh Tú.
Yes.
Hoàng Anh Tú. Hoàng Anh Tú.
He not here. Okay.
Đặng Văn Tuấn. Đặng
có.
Văn Tuấn. Vũ Anh Tuấn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Đại Việt Tùng.
Yes.
Nguyễn Sơn Tùng.
Yes.
Vũ Xuân Tùng.
Yes.
Nguyễn Huy Lâm Tường. Nguyễn Huy Lâm Tường.
He not here. Okay.
Đỗ Thành Vinh.
Yes.
Nguyễn Quang Vinh.
Yes.
Vũ Ngọc Vinh.
Yes.
Vũ Ngọc Vinh. Phan Nguyễn Tấn Vũ.
Yes.
Nguyễn Quốc Bảo.
Yes.
Phạm Việt Tuấn.
Yes.
Trần Đăng An.
Yes.
Wait. Phạm Việt Tuấn, Trần Đăng An. Okay, next.
Trịnh Ngọc Trường An.
Yes.
Đỗ Diệu Anh.
Yes.
Đào Minh Anh.
Yes.
Đỗ Trúc Anh. Đỗ Trúc Anh.
No. Next, please.
Nguyễn Hoàng Phương Anh.
Yes.
Hồ Quang Anh.
Yes.
Trần Đức Anh.
Yes.
Vũ Quỳnh Anh.
Yes.
Đỗ Nguyễn Đức Anh.
Yes.
Okay.
Trần Tiến Anh.
Yes.
Wait. Hang on. Okay. Trần Tiến Anh. Are you here?
Yes.
Okay.
Nguyễn Nhật Anh. Nguyễn Nhật Anh.
No. Yes.
Nguyễn Xuân Anh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lưu Bá Anh.
Yes.
Thank you.
Trần Ngọc Trung Anh.
Yes.
Nguyễn Hoài Anh.
Yes.
Nguyễn Đình Tùng Anh.
Nguyễn Đình Tùng Anh. No. Okay.
Trần Hồng Anh.
Yes.
Nguyễn Vũ Bách.
Yes.
Thank you.
Vũ Xuân Bảng,
Yes.
Nguyễn Phan Gia Bảo, Nguyễn Hồng Minh,
Yes.
Bùi Lê Nhất,
Yes.
Nguyễn Hương Giang, Nguyễn
Hương.
Hương Giang.
No. Okay, thank you, Trang. We finished. Hôm nay những bạn sau sẽ nộp bài lại giúp cô này. Phương Thảo, Quỳnh Trang, Hai Quỳnh Trang, Sơn Tùng, 4 bạn, Quang Vinh, 5 bạn, Quốc Bảo, 6 bạn, Tường An, 7 bạn, Đức Anh, 8 bạn, Đại Việt Tùng, 9 bạn, Đào Minh Anh, 10 bạn, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Tiến Anh, 11. Nhật Anh, 12. Hoài Anh, 13. Nguyễn Vũ Bách, 14. Ok. Các bạn nhìn thấy rõ list của các bạn ngày hôm nay chưa? Những bạn này cuối giờ sẽ nộp lại cho cô đúng không? Như cô nói với các bạn là hôm nay ít nhất các bạn phải hoàn thành được 3 bài là 13, 14, 15. Những bạn sau nhé, Thảo này, Hai Quỳnh Trang này, Việt Tùng, Sơn Tùng, Quang Vinh, Quốc Bảo, Tường An, Minh Anh, Đức Anh, Tiến Anh, Nhật Anh, Hoài Anh và Vũ Bắc.
Cô ơi, cô cho em xin mail để tí còn nộp nữa.
Đây cô sẽ gửi địa chỉ email của cô vào test box của các bạn.
Với cả em có em hỏi là nộp của bài ngày hôm nay đúng không ạ?
Đúng không?
Cô em làm ra giấy xong rồi chụp ảnh lại nộp à?
Các bạn chỉ cần ghi chép đầy đủ vở của ghi của các bạn ấy. Các bạn chụp lại vở ghi hoặc là giấy ghi của các bạn thôi. Nghĩa là thể hiện là các bạn hôm nay có tham gia học và có làm bài đầy đủ, ít nhất là với 3 bài yêu cầu đó. Đây là các bạn gửi vào địa chỉ email này giúp cô nhé. Rồi, đó, xong nhiệm vụ ngày hôm nay của các bạn, 14 bạn đó, gửi trước 10 giờ 30 nhé, 10 giờ 30 là deadline, 15 phút sau khi các bạn học xong luôn, bởi vì các bạn có sẵn rồi, các bạn đang làm bài tập, đang thảo luận đúng không? Okay, guys, so back to the exercise 15. Who could do this exercise, please? What do you think about this exercise?
Can I do it? Can I do it?
Your name, please.
Lưu Bà Anh.
Yes, Bang. So first, could you explain the way you do this? Could you share the idea to do exercise 15?
Um. The first I just draw the
We consider the motion of blocks on the inclined plane, right?
Yep.
If I have you to plot figure to show for the motion of the object like this, we consider the horizontal here. Now planes, inclined plane is made with the angle theta is equal to 32 degrees, right? So
Yep.
we have the inclined plane without friction, right?
Yep.
For example, block here. Block is projected up, right? It's moved up.
Yes.
With the velocity, initial velocity VO. VO is the same VI for initial velocity. It takes the value 3.5 in the
3.5 meters per second.
In the unit of their velocity. What about the first question? The first question.
In the first question, I have the equation, kinematic equation, that is V power 2 equal to VO power 2 plus 2AX.
Bang. So the first question required to show how far, right? How far, that means ask us about the distance travel of the blocks, right?
Yeah. Then X into AX is the position that the block will stop.
The first question required to show for how far, is that means the distance travel, right?
Yep. Then I take the X from this equation to I have X equal to
How to compute for distance travel? How to compute for distance travel?
How
to compute, how to calculate for distance travel. We consider the objects here. It starts with the velocity at beginning VI is the 3.5, right? With the unit. And it's moved, for example, at the position B. It starts at A
to B.
B. For example.
And it stop at B, right?
Yes, it stopped at B. That means we had the V final is equal 0, right?
Yep, right.
So is there anything we could know about this motion? Anything else? Is that all?
Yes, so I use, can I write the equation to reach us?
Yes, I could have you to write equation. So which one you apply to compute for distance travel?
I use
this question. We need to compute as AB.
Yep.
Right? So how to compute for SAB if we know the VI at beginning, VF at the end of the travel?
Yeah. We know that we have the X equal to X equal to 1 divided to negative. Can I write this?
If you read, I could have you to write something. So S equal to what?
Can you share the annotate to for me to write?
Okay, of course. If you want to share the screen, you could start me.
Yeah, can I share my screen? Yes.
Yes, I start. Yes,
Okay.
you could share.
Yeah, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen yet?
Yes. Okay. Now you could show the way you did for the question number 1.
Okay, first I have two equations that I have two equations that v power 2 by v power 2 plus 2ax, and I have another equation that v v o plus at. So with the with this question, I combine two equation to that equation. That's x is the position the block will stop, like x. I have and for x s a b.
Yes.
So I have a when I combine two equation, I have equation that's there. Yeah, VO power 2 and divide to A, and with that I have the SAB is 1.18, so that is my solution.
Hey, golden boy, do you understand him the way he does? Do you deeply understand here or not? Hey guys, please.
I think they cannot.
We understand this.
It's hard to understand because I have a terrible explanation.
Okay, so by now you could start the sharing. We back to my slide. I think his idea is okay, but the way you explain for on is not super clear, right?
Yeah. I just write the equation to the paper.
So that's why I tried to ask you some questions to make it more clear. Let's see here. You need to compute how far. That means the distance traveled from A to B of the block, right? To compute for distance travel, we have that there are only 3 equations in the chapter 1 to compute for distance travel. For example, here we could apply the equation 2as is equal to VF, V final square minus 4VI square. So let's see this exercise. We already know VI, VF, right? Now we need to compute for S. That means we need to show for the A. So how about acceleration in this case? If the block move from the bottom to the higher position, how to compute for acceleration? Don't forget, we need to consider
I by the
act on the opposite, right? So when the opposites move like that, there are 2 forces act on the opposite with the weight, right? And normal force. Do you agree? Don't forget, we study chapter 2 with the list of forces. Always think about the forces act on the object, right? So there are 2 forces here with the weight and normal force. In this case, because we just consider the position below the plane like this, it that means we don't care so much about the normal force. We just care about the weight, the component of weight on the plane with the name P as, for example, right? So the F mass here is equal to the P plus with the normal in the normal formula, right? But in this case, we just consider the OS. For example, you choose the OS below the plane and OY here. We just consider the forces on the OS because the objects move to the plane, right? So we have the F mass is equal to the negative PS, right? So F mass, you have the mass multiple with the acceleration is equal to the mg with the sin theta, right? So finally, you got A here is equal G multiple with the sin theta. Negative here is that meaning of the negative direction. Is that all?
It will be 9.
You show the distance travel.
Yeah, I forgot to write this before.
Yes. So could you show for the answer of A? How about
I
the
9 is what is a minus 9?
Is the
Oh, is a minus 9
minus 9
meters per second power 2.
Okay. And don't forget we had the VI here, VF here, and finally we could go for the distance travel.
Teacher, I think it's 9, is not 8.
Oh, sorry, it's 9.
Yeah, I just forgot to explain about this before.
So for SA is equal to VF squared minus 4VI squared over 2A. And finally we got with 0 squared minus 4, 3.5 squared over 2 multiple with the negative 9. So what about for final value for distance travel from A to B?
It will be 1.18.
1.18 meter. Okay.
Yeah. And I might need to do.
First question: How far the object move? Is that mean the question required to show for distance travel, right?
Right.
How about the second question? What about the second question?
In the second question, we have the equation that t equal time equal to.
Hang on. We don't care so much about formula. So first, try to understand about the meaning of the question.
That is it.
Here,
time.
ask about the how long. How
so
long?
We have time.
That means the time. Yes. So what about the time of the travel?
Yep.
Compute for the time. It's move from A to B, right?
Right. Yep.
Compute for the time. Think about the equation in the chapter 1. We have the 4 basic equations, right?
Yep.
So which one we apply to compute for T?
I think I will apply the equation that time equal to
the final
velocity original divided to accelerator
with the AT. In this case, the VF we already know VI is okay for the acceleration here, right?
Yes,
so
right.
To compute for how long T is equal VF minus for VI A, right? 0
0
3.5 over negative 9. So
9
about the final answer for how long?
is 0 minus 674 second. 0 dot 674 second.
Okay, thank you for the question number 2. Question number 2, no problem. And let's see the last question number 3. What about the last question number 3?
So the question number 3, I think it is when the object is already go to reach the B, it will return to the A.
Great. So what's the meaning of the question number 3?
What is the speed when it get back to the bottom? So it is when the object reach the B and return. And what is speed of this travel?
First, we assume at beginning here in the bottom, the object move to the highest position B, and then it's back to the bottom, right?
Right.
So now we need to compute for speed when the object move to the highest position and then back to the beginning, right? So how to compute for speed? How to compute for speed? The final now we use with the VF prime. It's different with the VF here. VF here is that means the object start B. Now it start B and then move to the first beginning, right?
Yep.
How to compute for final speed in this situation?
I think VF plus is equal to double V original.
Show with the VI plus with the AT, but here VI is the same VI here. For the acceleration, is the same. For the T, it change. It's not T the time from A to B. So the T here is from A to B and then back to the A, right? So we use with the T prime. So now how to compute for T prime?
So I solve the equation that's x equal to VOT.
Don't forget, if the object start A, go to the B, back to the A, if that means we have the distance travel here is equal to 0. Right? Another way to compute for us is equal to the VI multiple with the time T prime, yeah, right? And plus with the 1/2
AT double.
So from this equation, you could compute for the value of T prime, right? If you know T prime, you could replace here to compute for VF prime. If that means the final speed when the object moves from A to B and back to the A.
Yes.
That's the idea to do question number 3, right? So could you show for the value of T prime?
So after the solution, I have the T prime is 1.35.
Okay, and it approximate with the
1.35 second.
1.35 second. Okay.
Approximate.
And for the VF prime. VI equal 3.5, right?
Yeah. Plus accelerator NT.
Negative 9 multiple with the t param here is 1.34. And could you help me to show
See.
for the final is
So
equal to
but I think that I also plus the I don't I
something wrong here.
there's something wrong. We have to give the scene 32 on them.
Tín hiệu khó nghe quá, cô không nghe được. Anh muốn nói.
Dạ, em nghĩ là mình phải nhân thêm cả cái sin 32 độ và sin 32 độ vào cái AT luôn ạ. VO plus AT.
In formula, we have the VI here.
Yes.
How about A? A is equal G sin theta.
Sin
multiple
theta.
with the T.
T pound.
Is that right?
Right.
Is that all?
Yes.
Yes, it's the same when we apply with the A is the negative 9.
I think that's you just forgot us before, so we apply them.
Final answer with the VX from
It's approximate to 3.5 meter per second.
Negative or
Negative.
In the unit of the velocity. So is that all? For question 3. Hey guys, do you agree with 3 answer here? Question number 1, number 2, number 3. Do you agree?
Teacher, can I have a question?
Yes.
Is there anything wrong with the equation SAB? Because when I calculate this, it's not 1.18.
1.18 is not true for the first question.
Yeah.
So why? Don't forget we had the VF, B0. Do you agree?
Yes.
VI is 3.5.
Yes, but it's not 1.18.
1.18 is correct or not? What about the acceleration? So
I think the acceleration is wrong.
the answer wrong here.
No, acceleration.
The acceleration is also, yeah, it's not -9.
It's not nice. So how about this? Formula is okay, right?
It's equal -9 multiple with sine 32 degree.
If the approximates the 9.8 multiple with the sin of the 32 degree. So how about this?
It is 5.2.
5.2 approximately. It's maybe better compared with the 9 because we have the negative 9.8 multiple with the sin of the is approximate with the 0.5. So I think it's okay with this result. So Bang, please check it again.
Yeah, I have wrong because I have wrong for this.
Okay, thank you guys. To support for 3 questions, exercise 15. Do you have any question more?
Teacher, I think that I have do wrong something, but can I get a star for?
Yeah, of course. So wait, hang on. So first, I would like to ask, or what about exercise 15? Is that okay or not? Do you have any question more? No?
It's okay. The third part is I think is wrong in the answer.
Sorry, who says something? Your name, please.
I think the third part, he is wrong somewhere.
The question number 3. Let's see.
Yes.
So the answer here is not correct.
Yeah, but he mentioned that he will take the initial speed minus or the acceleration multiply with the sin theta. But I truly don't understand why we must multiply with the sin theta here.
Because we have acceleration is keep the same with the formula here.
Yeah, but he said he using the acceleration, not the g. So he mean here he will a multiply with the sin theta, not the g multiply with sin theta.
Why we not consider here?
I don't know. He just said that, so I asked a question.
Not true. You don't consider G here. Bye. Are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
In this formula, so you don't consider G here. Is that true?
I think I consider that, but but I have some confused when I have a draft. I have an outline.
The same acceleration, so that's why we need to consider G here. Okay? Why? Is that okay for you?
Delta.
Vậy mình sẽ kết thúc ở đây nhá, vì hết giờ rồi. Cảm ơn các bạn. Cô sẽ tích sao cho bà Anh. Bạn ấy đã kết thúc bài số 15 rồi.
Vâng, em xin lỗi vì cái phần giải thích với ẩn nháp của em nó hơi có một phần thi.
Không vấn đề gì. Khi các bạn hiểu thì cô nghĩ là phần còn lại chỉ là các bạn lựa chọn công thức nào phù hợp để các bạn giải quyết nó thôi. Buổi hôm nay mình dừng tại đây 1 phút cuối cùng. Trước khi kết thúc các bạn còn câu hỏi gì không?
Ôi, em chỉ hỏi cái đằng sau cái T phẩy là 2V gì đấy cô?
Đằng sau T phẩy. Đằng sau T phẩy là 2VI. Mình ký hiệu VI có nghĩa là velocity, initial velocity thôi.
À, đấy chữ Y à? Em tưởng là
Tại vì cô viết hơi xấu, cô ghi là V0 nhưng mà cô muốn ký hiệu là VR cho nó thống nhất với những gì ký hiệu ở đây này. Rồi, các bạn còn câu hỏi gì nữa không?
Cô điểm danh lại cho em không ạ?
Sao? Tường hỏi gì cô?
Lúc cô điểm danh thì em lát bị văng ra ngoài.
Bạn nào còn chưa điểm danh thì nói cho cô sẽ điểm danh cho các bạn. Nhìn lại cái checklist của các bạn nhé. Rồi, các bạn còn lại không còn câu hỏi gì nữa. Các bạn có thể out khỏi cái meeting này này. Đầu tiên là cô check cho Lưu Bá Anh này. Em được sao này? Lưu Bá Anh. Ok. Rồi, còn bạn nào chưa được điểm danh nói lại tên cho cô.
Lâm Tường ạ.
Em thưa cô Đỗ Trúc Anh ạ.
Trúc Anh. Đỗ Trúc Anh. Rồi. Còn bạn nào nữa không? Hết rồi đúng không? Vậy mình kết thúc buổi hôm nay ở đây nhá. Bye bye.
Bye.